Here we go, the continuing trial with Cicero doing it. Quare hoc quo minusos credibile nisi ostendator eo magus est si con vincitor vindicandum. Which that last one looks like a gerund. So, therefore, it looks like eo and quo are the correlatives here. This, what is less credible, if we look at minus as credible, so therefore this, that is less credible, nisi ostended, unless it is shown to be true, you might want to say. Eo, the more it is, if it is convincing, convincitor, should be punished. Okay, so therefore anything that's less credible, unless it is shown to be, and anything that is more, if it is convincing, if a crime is convincing, then it should be punished. So that hockey, it means this is why. So anything that's less credible, unless it's provable or clear, should be punished all the more. Magus. Itaque. And so, cum multus ex rebus, they can go together. Looks like our ancestors, our maiores, nostros, are able, this is the passive infinitive of the third declension. So our ancestors are able to be understood from their many things and many circumstances and many things that happened, that non modo, not only armis, with arms, plusquam ceteris nations, are more than the other nations, verum etiam, but even potuisse, they are able to, with their planning, concilio, and their sapienta, which is their wisdom. So, altogether understood, it's understood from our ancestors that they were able to understand in these things, many things, not only that with arms more than other nations, but even in their planning and their wisdom. That then, ex hac re, from this thing, vel, it could be an adverb there, maximes especially, quod in impius singularis supplicant invenierant. So, they've found something, and they've especially found something. What is the singular supplicum, the single punishment in impios, in with the accusative means towards the impious. So, from up here, so our ancestors understood this from their much experience in things. Not only had to go beyond the other nations with arms, but even this conciliates probably even their decision makings and their wisdom. And from all of this, they even, we'll just take that vel as an even, they even maxime, they'd found a great way to punish these impios, the wicked people. Qua in re, re is female, qua is female. So which in this matter, quantum how much, prudentia, this is a different type of wisdom. Sapienta is more of a thinking kind of wisdom. Prudentia, we get prudent and being a prude, etc. from that sort of wisdom. They praestiterant it. So stiterant comes from standing, and prae means in front. So in this matter, how much wisdom they stood out. This would be maiores nostris. Our ancestors, they stood out. They stood the forefront to eos, to those people, qui who, amongst the keteros nations, so they stood out in their wisdom to those who, amongst the other sapientissimi, fuisi decanta, who are said to be, fuisi is the infinitive, this is a superlative, the most wise. Again, the I just means it's plural. And we have an imperative plural, so he's speaking to more than one person. Obviously, he's talking to the panel of jurors. So which in this matter, how much more wisdom our ancestors outstood to those of other nations who were said to have been very wise, especially wise, and consider this. 70. Prudentissima civitas Athesian. So the Athesian state was the most prudentissima, the most wisest. Again, using this prudentia form of wisdom. While ea, it or she, this state itself of Athens, Potita est. This means it had possession of Ioreum of Greece. It was considered the most. Fuisse traditor. It is handed down to us, or it is said to have been the most prudent or the most wise city-state. Ius, demonstrative pronoun, males, female, and neuter pronouns all take the same one. So poro, furthermore, absolutely. So we'll just take it as furthermore here. Furthermore, of this civitatis, this state, sapientissimum solon, diciant fuisi. They said that the most wisest in this state was Solon. Him, eum, qui, who, the legs, the laws, quibus hodie, which today, quoque utunta, which we use today, he subscripted these legs. He wrote these laws which today we use. Utor takes the ablative. Sapienta. All right, we're up to here is. He, when interrogator, the passive, so he, when he was interrogated on cur, why nullum supplicans, no punishment, he had constituted or founded in eum, in the accusative, towards him, qui who, had necassated a parent, who had killed a parent, responded, say, he responded, id this, he putasate, he thought, no one, with a future, no one would do in future. He didn't think anyone would do it. Sapienta, so wisely, fecisse dicantur. So wisely he is said to have done this. When cum deio, concerning this, nothing sanctionated, because antia commissum non erat. He didn't sanction anything in the laws because before antia, no one had commissioned it, no one had committed this crime. Ne non tam, so ne and non here. So it would seem, viderator, that he didn't prohibit it, then admonish it, then advise it. Okay, so if no one had done this crime before, he thought by prohibiting it, it might seem that he was advising that, or he was someone might do it because they're talking about it. It's like when they talk about suicide and then suddenly the suicide rates go up. You talk about something and it brings it on. Okay, quante nostre maiores sapientius. So we see Solon, he didn't want to suggest it, but our ancestors, how much more sapientius, how much more wiser were they than Solon, is what he's saying here, and we've got a little exclamation mark to prove it. Qui, so our ancestors who, when in telegeron, when they understood, nihil est, nothing is tam sanctum, nothing is so sacred, quod that, non aliquando violaret audacet. Someone bold enough sometime in the future, or sometime might violate it, that they excogranted, they thought up a singular supplicum punishment in parasitos, in the case of those who do parricides. So this is how much more wiser our ancestors were. They thought something up because nothing would ever be so sacred that someone at some time wouldn't have the boldness to violate it. So they excogranted up a punishment for this case, so that cause those who nature itself retinerate and officio non potuisse. So nature was not able to retain, detain, or hold in this into its in officio, in some sort of duty or so. Eo magnitude. That by this magnitude, of punishment, this would this would remove some people's from maleficio, from bad deeds. Ficio means doing something, and male means something bad. So Solon didn't think it up because he didn't want to prohibit it because someone might get suggested into doing it. But our ancestors are wiser. They thought they'd create some huge magnitude of punishment to these people that would remove them wanting to do something maleficent, which nature itself was not able to do, something like that. In sui volerant. So they wanted them to be in suid, it's sewed into, and then we have in again, into a collium, which is a sack. Vivos is the condition of the people sown in the sack. They are living, plural. So the ancestors wanted them to be sown living into a sack, at qui and ita thus or so, in flumen deieci, to be thrown down into the river. So thrown into the river. O singularum sapientem judici. So the judges here, the jury, evocative. This here is an, what do they call it, adverbial accusative. Starts with O, the interjection, and then it goes straight into the accusative. So, oh, singular sapientem. Oh, what singular wisdom they had, jurymen. Nonne, so surely not. Videntor, it would seem. Hunc hominem, this man or a man. Sus stulis is taken away from the nature of things, and irrepuisui, to have ripped away, taking the dative, him, repente is the adverb, suddenly. The caelem, that's the sky or the heavens. The solem's the sun. The aquam's the water. Qui, and the terram, which is the earth. Adimrent. So this has been snatched away to this person, and he's been adimranted. He's been deprived of these things, so that qui, he who, him, nakasset, he had killed him, who, unde ipse nata, from where he was born himself. Okay, from sounds a bit weird there. So he killed him who had given him birth itself, or his origin come from his father. Or it could be a mother, I suppose, but it's parasite. And kararet eos, I think that's the dative. So he would be free from or lacking those things. Oh, actually, these are all ablatives. Actually, this is all ablative. So he would be lacking all these things from which, dicunta, it is said, omnia nata. I'll take the lobe here where it says, all existing things owe their birth. So you want to say something like that. So he's sown into a sack, the sky, sun, air, water, everything. It's taken away because he had killed him who had parented him, and then he would be lacking to him all the things we just said to be needed to someone who's born, or anything that's born. Nata actually is a female-looking thing. Okay, so nolverunt, they didn't want, taking the infinitive, to obicere, to cast the corpus, neuter, to the ferus, while base. That nada could be neuter plural. Anyway, nay, lest the bestus, lest these beasts, in that case, quoque also, quae which tantum scelus artigescent, which had touched something so criminal, would become used to being more monstrous. Okay, so that's what it's taking ablative from mutor. Okay, so they didn't want to throw the bodies to wild beasts, lest the beasts also, after they've been touched, and they'll be, once they've eaten human flesh, they'll be even more monstrous. I think that's what's going on. Non sic, so not thus nudos in flumen deicere, so they didn't want to just cast them naked into the river, lest when dilata essent in mare, when they are ferro-latae tula, it's an irregular dilata, so when they're ferried along in the river, in the mare, out into the sea, polluerent ipsum, they might pollute this water itself, quo cetera, by which the rest of things quae violuntasut, which are violated, are thought putenta to be cleansed, expiarade. So yeah, you wash things in water, so you don't want your water to be polluted, even though the ocean's pretty damn big. But this is their thinking. Deniqui, and finally, or in short, nihil, nothing tam vile, nothing is so cheap. Nequi tam vulgaris, nothing is so commonplace. That any part should be left, cuis of them, any part of them should be left. Okay. Etonym, we've got for and also, sometimes in fact is a good translation. For what is so commune, what is so common, then spiritus vivus, then the spirit or breathing to the living, vivis, plural. Terra, the land, to the mortuus, to the dead, the mare, the sea, to present participle, is it? To those tossed about in the sea, and ejectus, and the shore to those ejected up onto it. So I guess the waves will eventually take you to a shore. Where are we? Oh, ita. Thus vivant, thus they live, dum possant, while they're able to, ut, so that non-quint. They're not able to ducere inanimate. They're not able to take a breath from the sky or from the air, and thus morantur. Thus they die, so that eorum ossa, the bones of them, do non tengat the terra. The bones do not touch the land, the ground, and thus jactantur, thus tossed about in the waves, so that they are numquam ad luanta, so they are never washed, and thus postremo, in the end or finally, they are jacatur, they are cast up or thrown upon, that ne ad sax quidem. So ne quidem means not even could they rest dead ad sax on rocks. So this is a follow-up from up there where it was talking about tossed about on the waves and on the shore. So while they're living, they're stuck into a bag. They can't take any air. They die. The bones can't touch the ground. They're thrown about in the waves. They're never washed. And finally they're thrown up on the land, but they're not even going to be able to rest on the rocks. Nearly done. Tantai malefici crimen. Crime, such a evil crime, you want to say, dative cui. So, to him, something so evil that so insigno supplicum est, supplicans are neuter, so insigni is the neuter in that adjective. So an outstanding or distinguished supplicant punishment is constitutum. It's been established in the law. Probare te euruki, this is the vocative of a second declension. The eyes, it's the shortened version. So Euruchius, do you think you can prove this? Do you think you can prove this? Or you are able to prove things to talibus viribus, to such men, si ne causam quidem, with not even ne quidem, a cause, pro tullerus, you're able to bring forwards of such an evil crime. Okay, so we'll have a daily dictionary out of insignis, from insignum, a sign, an emblem, but extraordinary, obvious, distinguished, famous, you see that a lot. Aristocratic, highborn, with the insignis that comes, infamous and notorious as well. The neuter takes the E. There's an adverb insignita. Okay. Where were we? See, if hunc, him, apud bonorum emptors, ipsos, amongst the buyers of his goods themselves, ipsos, you accuse. Okay. If him you accuse amongst the buyers of his good himself, ei judico Chrysis, so Chrysogenus, he's the one of the bad guys here who's trying to make off with all these estates. He is praeset, he is in charge of him, dative, in this law court, in the judiciary. Then nevertheless, or yet, Venice says, you should have come diligentius, comparative, and paratius qui. And that's comparative as well. Should have came more prepared and more diligently. You should have done your homework better. And that's it for the day.